Aita, drama, secrets, confessions. Welcome to Trove Reddit.
I once thought the day I came home would be the happiest moment of my life. I had imagined my wife running toward me, throwing herself into my arms, crying like a scene straight out of a Hollywood movie. But no, the moment the door opened, I knew everything had changed forever. The light in her eyes was gone, her smile had vanished, and inside the house, there was only a suffocating heaviness pressing down on me. Scattered bills lay across the floor. The smell of medicine lingered in the living room. And even the very woman I had sworn to protect now looked like a complete stranger. What had I missed? What really happened while I was away? And why did the truth make my heart ache so deeply? Subscribe to the channel to hear the full haunting story. The day I enlisted, I carried with me the image of her, her pure smile and the promise that when I returned, everything would still be the same. I truly believed our love was strong enough to withstand thousands of miles of distance, the sound of gunfire, and the cold sting of loneliness. But do you know what's even more terrifying than the battlefield? It's the fear of losing the one you love when you're not there to protect them. During my time in the military, I lived for those rare letters. Every time I saw her name on the envelope, my heart would pound wildly, as if I had just received a dose of life-saving medicine. But then, the letters began to come less and less. Once, I had to wait 3 long months just to get a short note with only a few lines: "I'm fine. Don't worry." But tell me, does fine always mean the truth? At the barracks, my comrades proudly showed off photos of their girlfriends, the newest messages on their phones. And me? All I had was silence. Every night, I stared up at the pitch-black sky, wondering, was she sleeping alone, or was there someone else lying beside her? I thought I was strong, but in those endless nights of waiting, doubt slowly crept into my heart. Have you ever felt like that? When trust and fear wage war inside you every second, every minute? I counted down the days until I could finally come home. I imagined myself opening the door, everything just as it was, all the longing erased in a single embrace. But the truth was, while I was out there facing death every day, she was fighting a battle of her own. A battle I knew nothing about. And when I finally came home, I realized this: sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one you never see. Can you guess what really happened while I was gone? I remember so clearly the day I came back. That moment of stepping off the truck, standing in front of the house that had once been my entire world, my heart was pounding like it was about to explode. I pictured my wife running out, her eyes glistening with tears, throwing her arms around me in overwhelming joy. But you know what? Reality never matches imagination. The door opened, and I saw her. Not the gentle, radiant image I had held onto all those years, but a hollow face, tangled hair, dark circles under her eyes like she hadn't slept in weeks. Instead of rushing into my arms, she just stood there, lips pressed tight, as if unsure whether to welcome me or hide something from me. Have you ever reunited with someone you love after so long, only to have them look at you like a stranger? I stepped inside, and the coldness hit me like a wall. No small celebration. No flowers. Not even a single welcome home. Just an empty room, the smell of dampness, and unpaid bills scattered across the table and the floor. I had fought on the battlefield to protect this home. But now it looked no different than a war zone itself. She avoided my eyes. Every time I asked, "Are you okay?" her answer was always the same: "Yeah, I'm fine." But honestly, who really believes in that word fine? My gut told me, something here was wrong. The way she clutched her phone and quickly hid it, the way she dodged my embraces. None of it was normal. I once thought I was ready to face anything: bombs, death, fear itself. But in that very moment, I began to realize, I might be facing a pain far worse than war. If it were you, if the person you love suddenly felt like a stranger, what would you do? Right pointing finger emoji. Don't forget to hit subscribe to follow the next part of this haunting story. The longer I stayed in that house, the more I noticed the strange things I had tried to ignore at first. She was no longer the woman I once knew. Her eyes avoided mine, her smile was forced, and worst of all, the silence between us stretched like a wall I couldn't break through. Do you believe that sometimes silence is more terrifying than the loudest arguments? Every morning, I would wake up to find her sitting at the kitchen table, staring into a cup of cold coffee. She wouldn't speak, wouldn't even look at me, as if her mind was trapped somewhere far away. Her phone was always face down, and every time a message came in, she would rush out of the room. If you were in that situation, would betrayal be the first thing to cross your mind? One afternoon, I opened the fridge, and nearly froze in shock. Inside was nothing but a few old cans of soda and a half-empty bottle of prescription pills. The fridge that was once packed with food now felt as empty and cold as her eyes. How had she been living while I was gone? Why didn't she tell me? I started to pay closer attention. Unpaid bills were stacked on the table, electric, water, debt notices piling up. Her clothes were hanging loose on her thin frame. Every time I touched her hands, her skin was ice cold. And then the thought hit me, had I come home too late? She was hiding something worse than I could ever imagine. Day by day, I felt more like a stranger in my own home. And a fear began to grow inside me, was this woman truly still my wife? Or was I living with someone entirely different? If it were you, would you confront her directly to demand the truth, or would you stay silent and watch, waiting to uncover the answer on your own? Her silence only made my mind spin with the wildest, most dangerous theories. In the military, I had heard countless stories about wives who couldn't wait while their husbands were away. I used to laugh at them, so sure that my love was different. But now, watching her cling to her phone, hiding every single message, I began to doubt. Have you ever felt your heart ache just from the sound of a phone ringing? One night, while she was asleep, I dared to reach for the phone on her bedside table. The screen lit up, rows of messages, but all of them had been deleted before I could read. Only fragments remained, as if someone was deliberately trying to cover their tracks. My hands trembled as I set the phone back down, my heartbeat pounding like I had just committed a crime. If it were you, would you unlock it and read everything? Or would you turn away to protect your trust? The next day, I followed her when she left the house. She didn't go to work. She didn't meet friends. Instead, she stopped at a pharmacy, bought a few packets of medicine, and quietly returned home. On the street, her eyes were empty, her steps unsteady, like someone completely lost. I wanted to walk up to her, but my legs froze, and inside my chest, my heart screamed, what is she hiding from me? In my mind, only two questions circled endlessly, was there another man? Or was she carrying a secret far more terrifying than betrayal? I had faced enemies on the battlefield, but this gnawing doubt was more terrifying than any gunfire. It ate at every part of me, until I no longer recognized the man I was. What do you think? Should I confront her directly for the truth, or stay silent and watch, waiting for the moment to uncover it myself? I couldn't take it anymore. One evening, when the only sound in the house was the ticking of the clock, I looked her straight in the eyes and asked, what are you hiding from me? At first, she shook her head, forced a smile, and told me I was just imagining things. But then, just seconds later, her eyes welled up with tears, her whole body trembling as if she were about to shatter. Have you ever seen the person you love break down right in front of you? She burst into tears, the kind she had been holding back for far too long. And the truth she confessed left me frozen. There was no other man. No betrayal. What there was a string of endless days battling debt, illness, and crushing loneliness. While I was fighting on the battlefield, she had been fighting her own war here, all alone, in silence. She lost her job just months after I left. The savings drained away, bills stacked higher and higher, and there were times she didn't even have enough money for food. I asked, why didn't you tell me? Her voice cracked as she answered, you were at war. I didn't want to be your burden. Hearing that, it felt like someone was squeezing the life out of my chest. Was it her silence that built the wall between us all this time? Then she opened a drawer and pulled out something that made my breath stop. Our wedding ring. She admitted she had almost pawned it, just to buy medicine to keep herself alive. Can you even imagine? The most sacred symbol of our marriage, nearly sold off just to survive another day. I sat there, staring at the woman I loved, trembling before me, and all I could think was, where did I go wrong? I had missed too much. And now, this brutal truth, would it destroy everything we had left, or could it be the turning point for us to begin again? If it were you, would you forgive that silence? Or would you see it as a crack that could never heal? I sat there, watching my wife sob uncontrollably, and it felt like 1,000 knives were stabbing into my chest. Part of me wanted to grab her, hold her tight, and promise her everything would be okay. But the other part screamed inside my head, why didn't you trust me? Why did you choose silence and suffer alone? Have you ever loved someone so much it hurt, yet felt so angry at them you almost wanted to walk away forever? I started to lose my temper. I told her I had risked my life every single day to protect my country, all for the hope of one day coming back to her. And yet, what I received in return was secrecy and cold distance. The words flew out of my mouth, so sharp, so cruel, that even I regretted them the second they were spoken. But in that moment, I couldn't stop myself. If it were you, would you bite your tongue to keep the peace, or would you explode, just like I did? She shot up, eyes swollen red, and screamed, you think I wanted this? Do you have any idea what it's like to spend endless nights alone in this house? I froze. It was the first time I had ever seen her lose control like that. She poured it all out, the sleepless nights, the times she fainted from hunger, the trembling when collectors came pounding at the door. And me. Where had I been during all those moments? I was fighting a war somewhere else, while she was trapped in a battle no one even knew about. My heart tore itself apart. I wanted to apologize, to hold her, to tell her she wasn't alone, but my pride wouldn't let me. I felt like both the victim and the villain at the same time, and that's when I realized, sometimes, the greatest enemy isn't betrayal, it's the secrets we keep buried inside. What do you think? In this situation, would you forgive and fight through it together, or would you see it as the final breaking point of a marriage? That fight didn't end with accusations. It erupted into a real battle, only this time, there were no bullets, just words sharp enough to pierce a heart. I screamed that I felt betrayed, not by another man, but by her silence. And she sobbed, shouting back that I didn't understand, that I had abandoned her even when I never meant to. Have you ever stood between love and pain, not knowing which one hurts more? In my anger, I slammed my hand on the table, sending bills scattering across the floor. Each sheet of paper felt like evidence of the brutal truth: we weren't just poor in money, we were poor in love. She trembled, then suddenly cried out something that left me stunned. Do you know how many times I refused help from my own family, just so no one would think I was a burden to the wife of a soldier? In that moment, I froze. Every bit of rage in me collapsed into chaos. All this time, I thought she was weak, but in reality, she was so proud that she would rather suffer than let me be pitied. Yet that same pride had dragged us both into the abyss. If it were you, would you feel grateful for that kind of love, or furious at such an extreme choice? She collapsed onto the floor, burying her face in her hands as she sobbed. I looked at her, torn apart, half wanting to hold her, half wanting to walk away forever. That was the first time I realized love could be so powerful, yet so fragile at the same time. What do you think? In that moment, should I have forgiven her and tried to rebuild, or walked away to save myself? Right pointing finger emoji. If you want to know the choice I made, don't forget to subscribe and follow the next chapter of this story. After that argument, we sat in silence in the dark house, neither of us saying a word. The ticking of the clock felt like a warning, that if we didn't act now, everything would be over. I looked at her, eyes red and swollen, shoulders trembling, and for the first time in our marriage, I realized I could not lose her. Have you ever truly understood someone's value? Only when you were on the verge of losing them. I took a deep breath, walked over to her, and placed my hand gently on her shoulder. I whispered, "We'll get through this together." She looked up at me, surprised, as if she couldn't believe I still wanted to hold her hand after everything. I pulled her close, feeling her frail body shaking in my arms, and I swore I would never leave her alone again. The next day, I took action. I signed up for extra shifts at a factory near my base. Together, we organized the bills and created a plan to pay them off one by one. Every time we crossed one out, it felt like we could finally breathe again. Do you believe that sometimes happiness doesn't come from luxury vacations, but from simply paying off an overdue electric bill together? We also went to see a doctor to check her health. I held her hand tightly as we listened to the results. She didn't have to carry the weight alone anymore. I realized then, love isn't just about promises made in happy times, but about standing by each other in the darkest days. Slowly, our home began to feel brighter again, not because of the lights, but because we laughed more, shared more, and lived more honestly with each other. We might not have been wealthy, but at least we had rediscovered our reason to keep going together. If it were you, after everything, could you forgive, and truly start over? Even now, when I look back, I still shiver remembering the day I came home. I had imagined a happy embrace, but what I received instead was a painful truth that nearly suffocated me. And yet, it was that very truth that taught me the greatest lesson of my life: love is not about sweet words, but about patience and courage when walking together through the storm. Do you agree that sometimes pain itself is what helps us grow? I once thought war was the fiercest battle I would ever face. But it turned out, the battle to hold on to love was the one that cost me the most tears. And the most blood from my heart. And I realized, my wife was never as weak as I once believed. She had been fighting alone in the dark, just to protect my honor, so no one would ever look down on the soldier she loved. Do you think that kind of pride is something to respect, or something to blame? Today, we are still far from perfect. The debts aren't gone, her health hasn't fully recovered, and the wounds in our hearts are still there. But we've chosen to stitch everything back together, little by little. Every simple meal, every bill we manage to pay off, every hand I hold in the hospital. They are all proof that true love has never disappeared. So if you are in a relationship where everything seems to be falling apart, don't be too quick to let go. Sometimes, just one embrace, one promise of "we'll get through this together," can be the start of everything again, and who knows, maybe those very cracks will turn into a new map, leading you both to a journey even more beautiful than before. What about you? If you were in my place, would you choose to forgive and keep going, or walk away to begin a different life? Right pointing finger emoji. Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you'd like to hear more dramatic and unexpected stories like this one, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next part.